Welcome. This is the Scarlet and Rage podcast. I am Michael, the voice of reason. This is my co-host, Jay, the voice of rage. And it's great to be coming back to you tonight. Thank you guys that are going to be tuning in here momentarily, a few of you coming in now. We appreciate all your support on the last video. Jay and I are going to discuss that here in just a moment because, obviously it was a popular video and we have about 50, close to 50 new subscribers. So we welcome all of you. Thank you guys for subscribing. If you would like this video while you're watching, we would appreciate that. And love for you to comment in either the chat or, afterwards. Jay, I know you wanted to, kind of discuss a few points of that last episode that we had that in the comments, even though we got a lot of subscribers, at least for a channel our size, and, even though that video got a lot of views and a lot of a lot of likes and all that, the ratio was overwhelmingly positive in the like versus the dislike category. However, the comment section was somewhat overwhelmingly, it was kind of moderately negative. There was a lot of kind of questioning our motives and saying that we were tearing down, other people trying to lift ourselves up. And I didn't see it that way. So, I would certainly like the chance to clarify it as well. But Jay, the floor is yours. How do you want to address this last episode and some of the criticisms in the comments?
Yeah, Michael, it really seems that we struck a chord there, man. People, like, we hit a soft spot in people, and what is the saying? I think we attracted the flies or whatever. And I just want to clarify, if my eye looks effed up, it absolutely is. It's one of two things. I either have a sty or I have pink eye. So yeah, so if I look a little messed up, it's because I am messed up. It's like it's bothering me. I've been putting eye drops in it and all of that stuff. So hopefully it goes away, because it's been like this for the last 5 or 6 days, and it's getting just beyond annoying. But
Jay, your eye doesn't even look that bad. I don't know why you're worried about it. Your eye looks, it's a little red.
This one.
I see it. It's a little red, but you look fine. But anyhow.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I went to a little workout place today, and somebody noticed it right away, and I'm like, damn, isn't that obvious? But whatever. Yeah, man, definitely struck a nerve last episode. People need to understand, Michael, that there seems to be some kind of disconnect there. And I don't know if people really understood what that episode was meant to represent. We were not openly ripping on other shows, and we really weren't even openly ripping on Birmingham or Austin Ward.
Well, especially we were not ripping on Birmingham or Austin Ward. We didn't touch anything about their work, their character, nothing. We just looked at the accusations that got them dismissed. Now, we don't know if they're true. I think that should be obvious.
Key word we said was allegedly.
Yeah. We don't know that they did that. As should be obvious, we're not saying that they're convicted of this. We were just reading the charges. And so some people took that as negative. So that wasn't negative. That was just sharing the information. This is what they've been charged with. Maybe they're innocent, maybe they're guilty. I guess they'll have their day in court, or probably they'll settle out of court and nobody will ever know and it'll just go away. That's possible as well. So we weren't ripping either of those guys. And we weren't ripping other podcasts at all. In fact, I was very complimentary of Doug LeMaurice and Bill Landis on Kings of the North and Kings of Columbus. I commented how much I liked that show. I listened to, a few other Buckeye shows as well. So there's not any of the Buckeye shows that I hate. There's some of the Buckeye shows that I prefer more than the others. But I'm not ripping any of them. I think all of them have a place. I think some people misconstrued that we were ripping other podcasts when we gave kind of a negative opinion on Bucknuts, the message board, which has nothing to do with other podcasts. So we were critical of that. And so I will admit to that we were critical of Bucknuts, the message board, but we were not being critical of other podcasters. I'm not even critical of the Bucknuts podcast. I listen to it occasionally. But the board, that's something different. And that's what we were talking about. And I think that's where some of the confusion came, Jay.
Yeah, and it kind of proved to me like how most of society just isn't very intelligent. Like I think people were looking at it at a surface level and they weren't really understanding the deeper message or the message at all. They just completely missed on what we were talking about. But yeah, you're right. We
Well,
were openly ripping on Bucknuts the message board because it is an absolute cesspool filled with unprofessional people. And I will also clarify something. I never made mention of the Bucknuts podcast. I've never really watched it all that much, but I mean, if I'm going to rip on a podcast, it's that one because it's filled with the people that I mentioned were unprofessional. So there's that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so there were some opinions expressed about Bucknuts, the outfit, nothing to do with other podcasts or podcast competition. Not bad mouthing those, like all of them, I think, for the most part. Like I said, I've never heard an Ohio State podcast I hate. There's just some I like more than others. But we hope you like this one. And so, Jay, you about ready to get into kind of the meat and potatoes of this episode?
I am, and I want to leave the floor to you, but do you realize we basically we are like essentially at 850 subscribers, man, after that last episode, which is just crazy, man. We, got a lot of people on board from that episode, and it was our biggest episode ever done that really wasn't directly sports related to Ohio State or Michigan. It was just with the gossip and not even I guess it is gossip because it was like legal civil proceedings.
Yeah. And I mean, so I'm thankful for that as well. I mean, last thing I'll say on that is, 850, 1,000 is in striking distance. So we certainly,
850,000. You mean
no. I said we're at 850. 1,000 is in striking distance. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Help us get to 1,000.
Bell, subscribe, share, tell everyone.
So we appreciate those of you who have subscribed here recently. Jay, why, the reasons as to why Ohio State's building a dynasty. That's what we're going to discuss for the next few minutes. Would you ever
This is all you, man. Again, this is Michael's episode. We did not really do any test run on this. I'm hearing this as you're hearing this. I was like, Michael, if you truly believe it, the floor is going to be yours. I just want to preface that. So, Michael, man, yes, continue on. I just want to let it know, we did not conspire before this.
Reason number one, that the Buckeyes are building a dynastic run. And by that, I mean 3 total national championships including this one, within the next 5 or 6 years to win 2 more. I would consider that, a dynastic run, especially leading into this new era of college football, with the expanded playoffs. And so I think that's in striking distance. I think they can do it. And I'm not saying they're going to do it this year, okay? I'm saying I think they can win 2 out of the next 6. And then they would have 3 championships within a 7-8 year span. And that would be significantly, that would be better than what Clemson did. So far that's better than what Georgia did. Of course, Georgia's window isn't shut on that. And Ohio State is the second most successful football program in the modern era of college football, which I'm defining as BCS onward. You say, well, how are they the second most successful college football program from the BCS onward? Well, there's Alabama, which is obviously the most successful. They were the king from the BCS until, really even right now that it's just finally kind of fading. They're not totally out yet, but the glory is certainly fading in Tuscaloosa. And remember, University of Alabama historically has been a school that has been dominating under very specific head coaches. And when those head coaches have been gone, Alabama has typically been a 7-5, 8-4, 9-3, maybe now and then a 10-2, 10-3 type of program. And there's definitely some, they're not where they were a few years ago. They have fallen back quite a bit. There is a power shift in college football from the South to the North. And by the North, I really just mean the Big Ten. The rules of the portal have played in the Big Ten's favor. The SEC has been losing that battle big time. They cannot transfer within conference. So piles of SEC talent are being forced into the Big Ten, the ACC, the Big 12, or whatever's left. Well, what's the most appealing option? Well, the Big Ten's the most appealing option. So the Big Ten is reaping the rewards of that. And the Big Ten is establishing themselves in the minds and in the families of some of these Southern kids at this time that they're a place that you can go play great football and get paid well to do it. And, that's leveled the playing field with the SEC. And, the SEC is kind of scrambling in this modern, not that they're down and out, they're not. But I think Texas is the rising power in the SEC. And so I'll get into that in a minute, Jay. But Ohio State is tied with LSU with three national championships. So they're in second place, a second place tie. Now, if you put the last 25 years of LSU and the last 25 years of Ohio State up next to each other, they both got 3 national championships. So that's a bump. That's a tie. Now, everything else combined over those years, which program's been the better program?
It's absolutely Ohio State.
Absolutely.
Just for the Big Ten titles, of course.
Yes. And BCS bowl wins and playoff wins and,
I mean, we've appeared in 6 national championships. I believe LSU has appeared in 4. I think they've won every single time outside of the 1 year in 2011. They played Alabama in the rematch. And I think Alabama won like 6 or something, 22 to nothing or something. I don't know that Alabama scored a touchdown until like the final minute of the game, but LSU did nothing on offense.
That national championship?
Yeah, 2011, 2012 season.
Yeah, I lived in Baton Rouge at that time.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, I lived in Baton Rouge at that time.
So who were you cheering for in that game?
I did not care. I really didn't care. I don't hate LSU. I've got 2 SEC teams that have somewhat of a soft spot in my heart, and that's University of Kentucky and LSU. Mm-hmm. And I've got my reasons for that. But I don't mind LSU. So I probably was rooting for them, but I also didn't kind of mind seeing them get shut out as well, because it kind of shut all those fans up that I had to hear every day. So I guess I didn't really care either way.
I see. Yep. Okay. Do you want me to break down some of what you said so far? Do you just want to go on?
Well, no, I want you to unpack some of this because I don't want to keep moving forward and not let you respond to some of this.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, you're saying Ohio State's going to win 2 of the next 6.
Correct.
I would say that's so, including the last one. 2024. There could be an argument there that that's a dynasty because that's similar to what Alabama did, but I want to see a back-to-back mixed in there. Like, I think Ohio State kind of has to win this year and then like 2 seasons from now too, and then we can start talking dynasty. I need to see a back-to-back in there. It can't be like go 2 years and then win 1 and then miss 1 and then win 1. Like there needs to be a back-to-back mixed in there, kind of like Alabama did in 11 and 12.
It could be opposite either. It could be 2 years from now win another one and then win it the next year back-to-back there. And then you really do have a dynasty because you've got 3 national championships in about 5 years. So certainly a back-to-back cements a dynastic status. But if they won 3 out of 7, that's getting pretty close. 3 out of 6, I think that's you're winning half the time over a 6-year span. That's probably I think is a dynasty.
I don't know how many dynasty gets thrown out around a lot, like kind of frivolously, Michael, around the sports world. But the only things I've seen dynasty wise in sports are the Spurs with Tim Duncan and them. I would say that was kind of a dynasty. The Patriots with Tom Brady was a dynasty. Let me think. In the college, obviously Alabama under Nick Saban. college basketball, there hasn't been one. I
The
don't
Los
think.
Angeles Lakers were pretty much a dynasty with Shaq and Kobe.
Um, how many titles did they win? Did they? I know they won back to back.
They won at least 3 together, maybe 4.
Yeah, they might have been too. Well, I mean, obviously the Bulls of Michael Jordan,
Yeah,
they
the
were
Bulls,
a dynasty.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, well, I guess if we're going like before the 21st century, I was thinking in the 21st century.
But okay, so let's see. The Patriots dynasty. They were considered a dynasty after the first run. The first run is Tom Brady wins his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
They do not win the Super Bowl Tom's second year. I'm sorry, it was not Tom's rookie year. It was Tom's second year, but it was his first year that he got to start. So then Tom's second year starting, his third year in the league, they did not win. The following season, they won.
Which you have a Patriots shirt on, by the way, coincidentally.
Yes. No, it's not coincidentally. I'm connecting the Pats to this
I
dynastic
see.
run. Yes.
Okay.
And so then they won back to back, and that was considered a dynasty within itself. And then there was the dynasty of 4 on the back end, which was quite different. It took much longer to win those 4. So I think either one of those dynasties could serve as a, like, if they do this, then it's definitely a dynasty. But point being, the power has shifted, Jay, and Ohio State is primed to be able to continue to benefit.
Okay, I was going to go to your
from
follow-up point there too,
Yeah.
because you're trying to say like the power has shifted from the south to the north.
What I'm saying is, it was like this for quite a while.
Yes, it was.
And the Big Ten was still pretty competitive. And now that scale has really evened out, and it's slightly maybe in favor of the Big Ten right now. And you can see that playing out on the field. They are better positioned in the marketplace right now with the teams that they have across the country. California, premium places in the Midwest with blue blood programs like Ohio State and Michigan. I think that we're setting up for a Big Ten that's going to be very tough. And that's good, because this is going to be a very tough playoff run. We found that out this time. And so when you're playing among very good, tough teams, it tends to, help breed champions. So I think that the play in the Big Ten is going to continue getting better over the next few years. I think that this might be a whole point in of itself, but I don't want to spend too long on it. The fact that the University of Michigan, I believe, is going to be a national contender over the next 3 to 5 years, possibly, if they don't get hit too bad with some kind of sanctions. And I think that presses and forces Ohio State to continue to put their foot on the gas and try to continue to succeed. I like Michigan pushing Ohio State. I don't think anything pushes Ohio State like Michigan. Getting beat by the SEC several times didn't seem to push us back years ago. But Michigan beating us 3 times in a row and winning a national championship, that really pushed Ohio State administration to go all in. I think it's a positive thing, especially in today's era when, as this season happened. Look, I know for the Ohio State purist that this is going to probably make you mad. And I don't mean to make you mad, because I understand where you're coming from. But as for me, the whole thing of like, if we go 1-11 and beat Michigan, to me, then it's a great season. To me, that's ridiculous and it's absurd. And we all know that if we went 1-11 and beat Michigan, nobody in Columbus or in the state of Ohio would be happy. And so, likewise, we now live in a college football environment where you could potentially lose the Michigan game. As much as that stinks, okay, it's not good to lose to Michigan.
Man, Michael, you're really joining in on that crowd and diminishing the rivalry over here.
No, I'm not diminishing it. I'm just stating the practical facts that losing that game isn't the end of the world anymore. Like, Ryan Day broke that curse, that, like, the curse of the Bambino. When the Red Sox traded, Babe Ruth to the Yankees, and he becomes the greatest hitter, of all time at that time. And so for years, the Red Sox didn't win. You know, we've had like a curse with Michigan that if you lose to a team from Michigan in November, your season's over. You will not succeed your goals that season. It's happened every time it's happened when you've lost to a team from the state of Michigan in the month of November. There's never been a positive outcome. So we've been conditioned that way as a fan base. That curse is broken. We lost to a team from Michigan, that team from Michigan, in November, the team we didn't want to lose to, and we still won a national championship. So to me, it is a huge game. You want to win that game. It is an important game. But at the end of the day, if you're both top teams and you lose that game, you got to regroup because you still got a shot.
Man, a lot to unpack here. I'm gonna address the power balance. I would still say, yeah, the Big Ten has won the last 2 national championships. That is great. The Big Ten finally had a winning bowl record against the SEC in 2024, going 5-1. But the year prior, we went 2-4 against the SEC. So I need more, I need more consecutive seasons of winning bowl records against the SEC if I'm the Big Ten. I would say, the power balance was, here before, and now it's here. The SEC is still slightly above just because of the fertile recruiting grounds, the depth in their conference. I would probably say the quality of coaching too, but I would need to look at a full-on list. Speaking of which, did you see that Ryan Day, I believe on ESPN's top coaches in the country, he is number 2 behind Kirby Smart? Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I think it was ESPN's rankings, and I don't know where Dabo Swinney was in there, but I did see that Ryan Day was number 2. That could, help your argument some there. I mean, to have the second best coach in the country based on his, credentials at this point.
That was a beautiful segue, Jay, because that is the next point of why I believe that this dynastic run can happen, because some of those SEC powers like Alabama, again, I'm not going to get into deep dive on Alabama. They're not knocked out. They're not totally done. But another year of 3-4 losses, and it looks like Alabama's back to the Alabama that it's been a lot of its history outside of 2 dynastic coaches, Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. And, some other success spattered in, but not too consistently. And so University of Georgia, I think we have seen them take a step back. Do they have a lot of talent? Yeah. Did they look good last year? No. If you took that Georgia team and put it pre 2 national championships, like prior to them winning 2 national championships, and you put that Georgia team out on the field, you're going they're not great. Their offense is really bad, and their defense is good. And so that's kind of what that team was. And Kirby Smart is known to have a problem right now. It's known in Georgia that he is strategizing, kind of how to solve this problem, that his entire system that built the 2 national championships really is not able to work in this new NIL environment. And they're losing massive amounts of recruits out each year. Yes, they're getting wonderful, talent-rich, recruiting classes that are great recruiting classes, but they're losing so many kids every year. And those are the kids that under the Kirby Saban model, they were able to keep around until that definitely the second and oftentimes the 3rd year. And by that point, that kid's really ready to step in and play some of those developmental guys, the pieces that you fit around the superstars. And that was the Saban Kirby model. And Kirby's seeing he can't do that because he can't develop that depth because the depth isn't staying. They're just going out the door to other schools. And so, he said they're actively, trying to basically come up with a new solution. But we'll see. The Georgia dynasty is a little bit wobbly right now. So I think.
Well, Michael, I have a question here. Are you saying that Ohio State's players, the program doesn't suffer from the same things as the programs you just mentioned, Alabama, Georgia? Is that what you're saying here?
Well, what I'm saying is we don't see near as high of a transfer rate out of Ohio State. I mean, yeah, there may be, 15, 18 players transfer or something. But, Georgia especially is seeing upwards of 30, sometimes 35 players leaving in a portal class. And so just a massive amount of the talent, and Georgia has not gotten very good, at certain aspects of the NIL. They're not good getting talent out of the portal. They have not been successful. Kirby hasn't, molded a very successful portal strategy. And so I think Ohio State's better positioned than they are. Who do I think is Ohio State's, main challenger right now? This is, Manning versus Brady. This is Brady versus Mahomes. That type of thing setting up. Who is their big competition? I think it's going to be the University of Texas, because the University of Texas is so wealthy. The University of Texas has streamlined their budget to only 20 something varsity sports. Jay, what is it, like 22?
Yeah, they have 22. And I think Ohio State has like 36 or 7.
Yeah. So they have 22 sports. They've streamlined their budget so that they can really put the money in football. They're building a NIL program that's competitive and putting together a lot of talent on that team. So I think Texas is their big challenge over the next couple of years, and we'll get to see them right off the bat next year, Jay, and that'll be a fascinating matchup.
Hey man, do you think that's going to be a noon game? I know this is off topic, but there's a lot of rumors that came out today that Fox is kind of backtrack on advertising it as a noon game. I know it's going to be on Fox, but would Fox have it at night? I don't think so. I don't know.
Well, maybe they should experiment with that. If you're ever going to experiment with that, it's a game like this, Ohio State, Texas in the shoe at night. I really think that's going to get a lot of viewership, because you're going to have interest in the Midwest. You're also going to have a lot of interest in the South, because all the Southerners want to tune in to see if a Southern team can beat the Northern team, especially if the Northern team's the defending national champ. So I think it would be a big viewership, and I think they would benefit from having it at night. But we'll see what they do.
Okay. All right. Well, Michael, that's interesting there. I guess what you're saying is Ohio State's culture and I don't know, the university kids just want to stay more so than the other schools, and they're building better depth there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that Ryan Day, although I was skeptical of him,
our good buddy Ryan Day.
Yeah, I was critical of him. I'll admit it. I will admit it. When I'm wrong, I'll own it. I'll admit it. And when it comes to Ohio State, in this case, I will enjoy, eating my crow. I will gladly have it, because it meant we won a national championship, and Ryan Day proved me wrong. But he absolutely did prove me wrong, because I had proclaimed that I didn't think he could win a national championship. I thought that, the Ryan Day era was effectively over. Now I'm here saying that the Ryan Day era could be dynastic. And so his evolution as a coach, Jay.
You were always the eternal optimist, though, Michael.
Well, but I saw, something very different in Ryan Day in this playoffs. If you look at Ryan Day, it was a huge psychological battle going on with Ryan Day a lot of his time coaching at Ohio State, and losing that fourth game to Michigan. That's what it took for him to finally break and reevaluate it and get back to who he is. He'd lost himself. He was a very, ingenuitive OC. He was a big help to Urban Meyer's staff. I always said that as an OC, he really helped, Urban go from kind of the dark years to an offense that potentially could move forward. And, so I gave him credit for that. I just wasn't sold on a lot of what I saw him as a head coach, because as the years went on, that offensive ingenuity began to become less and less, and it just began to get really stale, and it began to, just seem clunky and as if it never flowed. And, and then finally, after that loss to Michigan, you saw him change as a coach. he got back to calling aggressive, nothing to lose. He was willing to call nothing to lose when Urban was the one that ultimately was going to take the loss. But he got
So do you believe like this Ryan Day is the Ryan Day to stay? Like just that was like that flash in a pan of a couple games, like that is here forever.
No, I don't think that. I think you're still going to see some of the faults of Ryan Day from time to time. Just as you would see the faults of Urban Meyer from time to time and from Jim Tressel from time to time. And both of those guys were really close to adding additional national championships. There's been so many times where Ohio State has been so close to winning a national championship. I just think this could be the time that they finally put a few of those together in a row and make that transition from just being that steady, kind of win one every 10 years type of program to now it's kind of the it team because you're on the top of college football, at least for a brief moment. And so I've always thought that that's where Ohio State could get to. I thought that should be the goal, that at some point this program could be the it program, the way Clemson was there for a little while, the way Georgia was there for a little while, that it's Ohio State. They're the ones that people fear. It doesn't last long. You can't stay the champ forever. There's not too many Alabamas, but, I think that Ryan Day has what it takes to get him there because I think he's now proved it to himself. And I do believe he's going to be a different coach moving forward. I think he's learning, more about being a coach, and with the model being more and more like an NFL model, it's something probably that he would be very comfortable in because, they've got general managers now that are handling payrolls. Ryan Day's not, he's getting the high level decisions on stuff like that. He's not having to spend his time with those things. And so I think he's really adapted to this NIL era nicely. And I don't have any reason to doubt that he won't continue.
A lot of really good points there, Michael. Did you have anything else to add? Because I wrote down some points here that I think I'm going to have to push back. There's a little bit too much, too much sunshine and roses for me.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. To kind of go along with that point, obviously, you said everything that Ryan Day changed here, except for the number one factor that changed things is he watched our show. And after he watched our show, he changed everything. And then they won the national championship. I mean, that's clear as day. You're not going to tell me otherwise. But do we still really trust Ryan Day to call a good game consistently? I mean, it was only 4 games and, he still lost more big games than he's won. He won the 3 in a row. I do not count Tennessee as a big game. That was not a big game. Hopefully he's learned from his mistakes and the 2024 playoffs is the new Ryan Day. But Michael, we have some serious problems here, sir. And problem number 1 is the line recruiting. The line recruiting is an absolute fucking disaster. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to start on the offensive line. I'm starting to wonder about Tyler Bowen some. Everyone was sucking this guy's dick like hardcore. They were just like had it deep down there. Like he's like the savior of offensive line recruiting, blah, blah, blah. Well, Darius Gray from Richmond, Virginia is getting predicted to LSU now by Steve Wiltfong. And so far, all Tyler Bowen has gotten are guys Justin Fry could have also gotten. Mm-hmm. He really has done nothing impressive from a recruiting standpoint yet. I think so far his claim to fame is getting the 2 kids from Ohio, which Justin Fry was going to get had he not, been out the door. And then he's gotten some 3-star, from Colorado, and he's offering another 3-star in Arizona. But yes, this guy is a rock star recruiter. I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about here? You're expected to hit the ground running or else he shouldn't be at Ohio State. This is why I wanted a bigger name than him, somebody who's already been entrenched in these elite recruiting battles, somebody like Kyle Flood at Texas or Joe Rudolph at Notre Dame, somebody who's consistently getting like out-of-state 5 stars. Like, this guy was never, it's on, I was talking to a few people about this same subject, but if you're in the sales space and you need to go out and you're brought in an enterprise Fortune 500 company, and you're brought in to sell, you're brought in to sell right away. And the reason you're able to sell right away is you have relationships with the white space accounts you're currently going after. You have ingrained relationships there. That's what I expect at Ohio State. If you're an offensive line coach coming to Ohio State, I expect you to already have relationships with the kids that you are, like the 5 stars you're recruiting to Ohio State. When you're at fucking Virginia Tech, of course you're not going to have relationships with these kids. They're not going to look twice at fucking Blacksburg, which fucking sucks, by the way.
Okay, so this is my pushback to your pushback. I'm not
done.
Okay, well, let me just address this.
Yeah, I'm just saying that.
I don't disagree with your assessment. I'm just looking at a big picture view, and you're looking at the inner details of what's going on right now. Yeah, right now there's a problem at defensive line.
The right now is what's years down the road. These are the players that are going to be here.
I understand. I'm just saying, it's fixable. It's not beyond fixable. The offensive line was in this bad a shape at one point. Should it have been? No. Justin Fry just did not recruit well. He just did not recruit well, and it showed. They were able to get enough out of the portal, to make it work. I do think that there's opportunity in the portal. Obviously, they've got to be able to get some high school kids too, and I think like Fry just wasn't able to really get the job done. I do think that that it is probably getting time to do something. Whether it's name a successor for Larry Johnson.
Oh, I was about to get in that. That's point number 2. Let me just go ahead.
I don't know how you want to handle it. I mean, I would. I'm
going to go all in is what I'm going to do.
Well, I'm just saying personally, I don't know how you would handle it, but what are your thoughts?
All right. Well, my thoughts are he has no defensive lineman landed so far this cycle. Since the 2022 class, Michael, the recruiting has been awful on the defensive line. Ohio State just won a national championship on the backs of the great defensive line class from 2021, and they haven't come close to assembling anything like that since then. You have to remember that Jack Sawyer was a composite top 5 player. Tua Malau was a composite top 5 player. Tyleik Williams was that, what is it? The unicorn, 330-pound plus athletic black kid from the Southeast, and we just don't get guys like that on the regular. So, for instance, now we have a guy by the name of Jameer Perez from Cleveland, Glenville High School, Michael.
I know. This one stinks.
It just committed to Florida. Glenville kid. I got to be honest with you, man, and this is the truth. I expect him to probably flip back to Ohio State before this cycle is signed. But the truth is, defensive line recruiting is as bad as I've ever seen it, and Larry Johnson is a dead man walking. Players like Perez come around in Ohio like once every 10 years, and he is and this kid is serious like that with other schools already. A true nose tackle, that the position that Ohio State has the absolute hardest time to recruit, even more so than offensive tackle. By the way, this kid is legitimately, Michael, 6'4", 350 pounds. These kids are created in a fucking lab, and these labs are usually in the Southeast. They are not made in Northern Ohio. This is a terrible look for Larry Johnson. And to add on to all of that regarding defensive line recruiting, it seems that Matt Patricia is going to be doing some, he's helping out there right now, right? Yeah. Matt Patricia, not Larry Johnson, was the first one to offer Lamar Brown a 5-star defensive tackle from Louisiana last Friday. And allegedly, Patricia told Brown told Patricia that Ohio State should have offered him already, and his commitment date is on July 4th. That is pathetic. Winning a title on the backs of the 21 recruiting class defensive line, which is now gone, has secured a garbage, lazy coach to keep his job for another fucking season. And it's killing us, Michael. It's killing us. And Ohio State's got to do something about it right fucking now, or there is going to be no dynasty.
Yeah, something's got to be done with LJ. I don't know what you work out. Obviously you don't want to disrespect LJ. He's been a great soldier. He's been a part of two.
I'm not going to say it. Fuck it.
He's been a part of 2 national championships. He has recruited a lot of good guys. Maybe sometimes some people feel that he's been oversold. Maybe there's some, you can make that argument, but he's also done a lot of good. Had a lot of draft picks developed, and been a part of a very successful program. So certainly I want to see him go out the right way, but it just really does kind of seem like, the recruiting just isn't there at this age. Kids are just not wanting to commit.
The right way was this national championship, man. Just retire after the game and let us get Randall Joyner from Ole Miss or something, man. Like, God dang, you're killing us.
I mean, I don't know. Tough position for Ryan Day for sure. And so I don't envy, that position he has dealing with that. I would imagine that he probably would have, completely, been fine if Larry would have decided that he did want to sail the sunset after that national championship, but looks like he's going to be back for another year, and they are going to have to figure this issue out, Jay. And I'll put a check mark next to your resistance. This is a hindrance to them being able to build that dynasty. They do have to figure this out. This is this could become a problem.
I mean, the most important part on a defense, in my opinion, is defensive tackle. And, the nose tackle position, the rare breeds, the 330-pound plus. I mean, the best teams have them. I mean, honestly, Michael, the reason why our goal line defense was so great last year is you could insert Tyleik Williams and Caden McDonald, who were both 330-pound plus nose tackles in at the same time, as well as Ty Hamilton at, close to 300. And that was a very, very stout defensive line. They're not going to be able to do that this year. I think the run defense is going to take 2 steps back in 2025. And good God, can you imagine what 2026 is going to look like? Oh boy, that's going to be rough sledding there.
Well, I do believe that within those 2 seasons, they are going to have to get some immediate help out of the portal while they try and backfill, the young high school recruits coming up. They're not going to be able to do it with young high school guys because there's just not going to be enough time. They are going to have to get some help out of the portal the way that they did with the offensive line for this national championship, because the offensive line was pretty much in this same shape. Justin Fry had under-recruited. I don't know why. He just had. And the result was we were very thin on offensive line. Well, they were able to go out and get Simmons, and the kid from Alabama, and the line ended up being pretty good as a couple of those Ohio guys stepped up as well. But it worked. Well, the defensive line they're in a similar place right now, and they're going to have to get some help from the outside, bring in a couple of experienced guys. They got to be willing to pay for them. I don't know how their budget's working these days, but they got to start working in the budget.
People are blaming NIL for the lack of failures in recruiting. You know what? You just got out-recruited because Ohio State was missing on a lot of these guys before, and people weren't blaming NIL then. It's just bullshit, fucking weak-ass excuses for lazy, fucking shitty coaches.
No, I think NIL is just a small factor of it. I think that the fact that they don't really know how long Larry's going to be around. I don't think they want to go for that reason. There haven't been a whole lot of success. There's other schools that can point to more defensive line success in the NFL than Ohio State can over the last 5 to 7 years, and so you got to overcome that. But it
doesn't help that Tyleik Williams was like the first defensive tackle drafted in the first round since 2001. That is just inexcusable.
Yeah. It's Ohio State's had defensive ends. They've struggled with defensive tackles. So Ryan Day adapted, with the situation he was in. Now here's the thing. Hopefully he stops getting in these situations where he's got his best friend on one hand, and he's got Larry Johnson, a beloved assistant, on the other hand, and his best friend, his best man in his wedding, that took care of itself. He went to wherever he went to, Arizona, so that that problem was off his hands. Larry, he's decided he wants to stay. Again, it's a tough place for Ryan Day, but he's got to come up with a solution quickly, because you're right. You can't let, too many more cycles go by with this kind of, underproduction on the defensive line recruiting.
No. Yeah, just not much else to add there. Yeah, now, I feel like we covered all of that. Michael, there was a couple comments in the chat. I'm not going to highlight them. But yeah, what's up with your jacket, man? Is that your jacket?
So Jay, before we close out of that, give me a yes or no. Do you think that there's a case for Ohio State to make a dynastic run under Ryan Day?
Yeah, sure. There is a case. I would say that I'm leaning more no than yes, considering it's, it seems like it's like essentially right now we're winning a title every 10 years. So it's like 2002, 2014, 2024, right?
Yes, I'm leaning more yes than no. I'm very confident.
I need to see better recruiting. I need to see on the lines. The lines.
I'm very confident. I'm very confident that Ryan Day will win at least one more. 2 more, we'll see. But I believe he'll win at least one more. So I do think there's more in store. I think that they've got a pretty good thing going. They just need to continue refining it, and getting those big boys on the line, both sides of the line. And, if they do that with everything else they're doing, then they're going to be right there competing with anybody any given year.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. If they do that, yes, of course. So simple as that. Yeah, I want to see some results, though. I don't want you to talk about it, be about it.
Yep. No, it's time. Yeah, they got to start getting some of those defensive line recruits in, and I think they're
going
to.
And offensive line from out of state, because I don't count the in-state ones. I do not count them. They don't count. They are guys that should, be like, all right, so offer them a scholarship. They're committed and signed right there. That's it. That takes no talent to go out and get those guys. None at all.
Yep. And I think that could be what the Glenville kid is doing. Glenville kids want attention too. They see these other out-of-state kids getting all the attention, and they're just kind of like taken for granted. So he's like, yeah, I'll go to Florida. But Ohio State needs to go get him. You don't need to lose a Glenville kid to Gainesville. You need to go get him. You need to put together an NIL package, keep him home, and bring him back to Columbus. We need to keep the Glendale kid. We need to keep the kids coming there out of the east side of Cleveland from the great Ted Ginn Academy there. And I think they're going to. I think they will get him, Jay. So that doesn't solve everything, but that at least will be a win in this recruiting cycle. I believe. We'll see. That's what I'm calling right now. I just think they're going to, I just think there's a lot of success in the Ohio State football program's future, Jay, regardless of what maybe, this year, or I think in the next 4 or 5 years, there's a lot of success there. And I do think there's more national championships. So I am going to go that far as to say that.
Well, the eternal optimist, everyone, you heard it there. Michael, the voice of reason, providing that to us all and making us feel better on this Tuesday night. I guess we'll go to closing comments, right? I know there's some subjects we want to talk about. Something just popped up. Apparently Bill Belichick and what's her name? Jordan Hudson got engaged. Did you see that?
No. Did they really?
Yeah, I saw it in the comments. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, man? I mean, I think they, I have my thoughts, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if they're happy with it, if they're both happy with what they're getting out of it, then I guess more power to them. Bill, as long as he knows the deal, and I think that, it's fine. He can do what he wants to do. He'll have to make his own decisions. He'll have to figure that out as far as, the kids and leaving his fortune.
How
and all
old
of
are
that.
his kids, man? I know they're probably all older than her.
Oh yeah. I think Bill's son's close to 50, if not 50.
Man, the 50-year-old be a sugar daddy to Jordan Hudson.
Yes. I mean, if this girl was dating the 50-year-old, that would be like really young. But to be dating the 72-year-old, jeez. And
He's
now
73. He's 73.
73, and now they're engaged. Wow.
Crazy, man. Just crazy world. I feel bad for the kids is if like he signed over like his life savings to her and they get married and then he dies in like 5 years. And then it's like, the kids are kind of like, they're screwed and stuff. There was like actually a movie about that similar subject called like Knives Out. It was actually a pretty good movie. Kind of dealt with a subject like that.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, it really was. It was a good, I think like my mind went to some places. I think that the girl who, eventually ended up with all the money, I think she planned all that all along. I think she was the real bad guy. Although they tried to portray Chris Evans' character as the bad guy. But Michael,
so you think the sweet little maidservant was actually the one who was pulling the strings all along?
Hell yeah. Oh, absolutely. She, again, the signs were that, Chris Evans made the comment in the movie. He's like, I'm the only one who ever beats him at whatever it called game it was. But she also beat him at that game, like the guy who died. So it kind of lent to like how intelligent she was and how smart and capable she was. Like, she was just really, really, really smart and played all of them. And the only person who was actually suspicious of her was Chris Evans. I think she was the one the entire time. And a little bit of good news. Well, actually not. It was actually great news, even though the Reds lost tonight, but they swept Cleveland this past weekend, man.
Is that right?
Yeah, they did. I know, you don't watch them at all. But here I am still like, I haven't watched them at all, but, every single year I make it a point to watch the Reds and Indians just because I hate Cleveland so fucking much. I hate them so fucking much. And even though the Reds lost tonight and they still fucking suck, I decided to rock my Cincinnati Reds shirt just because fuck Cleveland.
The Reds just, I'm very glad that the Reds beat the Indians. But I'm not going to be as optimistic probably on the Reds as I was with the Buckeyes.
No, they suck dick, man. They fucking suck.
The Reds are not trying. They're not trying to put a really good team. How hard is it to find a guy that, you can sign that can hit 260 with 32 or 35 home runs in that ballpark, that tiny little ballpark that is a great hitter's ballpark? Outside of Coors Park or, outside of Coors Field out in, or whatever they call it now, out in Colorado, up in the, the high elevation outside of Colorado, it's about the second best hitters park in baseball. Go get some stinking hitters. Get a guy who can hit 35 or 40. They won't ever do it. They won't ever try to seal the deal and really put a competitive team on the field. And I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. I don't want to watch it anymore. It's just, sometimes it gets almost like they might, kind of turn the corner and win, but they're not going to, because everything has to go perfect, because they're not really putting together a solid and a deep enough roster to truly make deep playoff runs. And so I just don't get emotionally invested in them these days.
Yeah, they're just, I don't know. They just, they suck. But here's the thing. We were talking about like how Ohio State could lose every single game but beat Michigan. The Reds could lose every single game, but as long as they win 4 out of 6 against Cleveland, I'm not going to be completely upset. That's how far the Reds' expectations have fallen.
That to me, that kind of thing means more in professional sports. Like for the Bengals to beat the Browns, like even if the Bengals weren't maybe having their greatest season, if they beat the Browns twice, that would be a little bit satisfying. So I do understand it in the context of pro sports that sometimes it's sweet to just beat a team. And I know you hate the Indians. And see, I'm kind of just lukewarm towards the Indians. They're not the Indians.
I'm surprised considering you lived there for like 5 years as a Reds fan. I grew up there, so it's different for me.
Yeah, no, it is different for you completely. They were winning when I was there, and I was interested in going to the park. I was just kind of neutral. I didn't love them. It didn't matter to me if they lost. But if they won, I was like, okay, well, the city needs some good things to happen for it. So, I'm for that. That was kind of my positioning on it. And the Cleveland Cavs did win one while they were there, and that was great for the city of Cleveland. The city of Cleveland needed that.
Oh, hell no, it didn't. I didn't want the Cavs to win either. Fuck that. I was the biggest Golden State Warriors fan that entire series. I was beating that drum hard. I'm a Pistons fan. I hate the Cavs.
You're just a hater of everything Cleveland, huh?
Actually, I have some respect for the Browns. Some. I don't cheer for them at all, and I do still cheer against them, but I don't like ferociously hate them like I hate the Indians and the Cavs.
Okay. Well, I'm a little bit more compassionate on the city of Cleveland than Jay is. Jay does not want any success for the teams from the city of Cleveland, the land, as they call it.
Well, dude, I mean, you live in Cincinnati, Michael, and all they ever do is shit on the city of Cincinnati and say it's Kentucky. And I'm surprised you put up with that.
Well, here's the thing. Last year here in Cincinnati, it was a brutal Southern Ohio winter. It was a bad one. It was long. And we still only got about 15, 16 inches of snow. And, it was a little colder than usual. Just a standard winter in Cleveland is 60 inches of snow and, sub-zero temperatures for 2-3 weeks out of the winter. Just a tremendously harsh winter there. So they can say, Kentucky, all they want up there. My winters are much more enjoyable. My summers are longer. I actually have a spring down here in Cincinnati, unlike in the northeast part of the state. But I love the northeast part of the state, Jay. I lived there almost 7 years, and I do have a place in my heart for Northeast Ohio. But I just prefer the benefits of Cincinnati. And if they don't like it and they want to dump on it, that's fine.
What years were you there in Northeast Ohio?
2015 to 2021.
Oh, I was gone. Yeah, I was gone.
Mm-hmm. Or 2022. Yeah, something like that.
I see. Yeah. I have not really visited Northeast Ohio much at all. It seems like I'm always going to Central Ohio. I never go to Northeast Ohio. I have no reason to go there anymore. But
I haven't been back up there in some years.
Yeah. I see. Hey man, real quick question. I just saw something on Facebook. 2002, 2014, 2024. Which one of the three were the best? Which one of those three was the best title-winning Ohio State team? Real quick before we get the fuck out of here.
Which one was the best team?
Yeah.
God, I don't know. I really don't know. You can't throw that on me. I'd have to think about this for a little bit. I don't know. Yeah. What about you? You got a clear-cut favorite?
Yeah, I'm going to say 2002.
Okay.
I still stick by that. The 2002 still has the greatest defense I've ever seen in a college team. And, all of those guys, dude, every single one of them played in the NFL. That team was I think they just don't get a lot of respect to their name. But, Miami was looked at as the more talented team, but they weren't. They were honestly pretty even. They were pretty even talent-wise. Ohio State just a little bit better coach because of Jim, the magnificence of Jim Tressel when he fell off a couple years later. But no, I take that 2002 team, man. I mean, Maurice Clarett was, we had Maurice, we had Michael Jenkins in the NFL, Chris Gamble, a lot of those guys in the offensive line. You had Will Smith, Tim Anderson, Kenny Peterson, Simon Frazier, all played in the NFL. You had AJ Hawk, Matt Wilhelm. Dude, I think I'm going through the entire fucking depth chart right now.
But I don't think AJ Hawk was starting yet. He was a freshman.
No,
year,
all right.
Right?
Well, our linebackers starting were Matt Wilhelm. I think it wasn't Robert Reynolds. It was Matt Wilhelm, C. Grant, and I don't know who the third was. I think it was maybe Robert Reynolds. I don't know. But then at corner, Dustin Fox, strangely enough, played in the NFL for 5 years. Chris Gamble, Mike Doss, Donnie Nicky was on the Titans for 10 years, crazy enough. Will Allen was a Pro Bowler, I believe, in the NFL. He, played a lot in that game.
Yeah.
The team was loaded. They just don't get a lot of respect to their name.
It's been so long since I've seen that team. I just can't really say. That's why
I had all of their autographs. I kid you not.
Yeah. That's really tough. That's one of the toughest Ohio State questions I've ever been asked is which of those three teams was better? Who would win?
Who was the best of the three?
Yeah, who was the best of the three? I don't know. Great question.
I will say that 2014 would have an argument to beat them. I think 2024 is absolutely the weakest one. There's no doubt that 2024 is the weakest one.
Okay.
But 2014 could have beaten 2002, but the way they were playing in the last 3 games.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it at that.
Well, Jay, real quick, why is 2024 definitely the weakest?
They just, like I said, the defense was good. It wasn't great. The offense was really good. I don't know that the offense was great. Just, they don't, that 2024 team's just not going to have near the NFL star power that either of those teams had. I mean, the 2014 team eventually had a couple of the, guys going like the first 10 picks of the NFL draft. And then they had 5 or 6 guys go in the first round from that team, of the next year. Like that team was loaded.
Yeah, you're right about that.
2024 didn't have the star power.
I agree with you. There was more talent on that 2014 team, probably, or
Yeah, for sure, and no doubt. I think 2024 is the weakest. That doesn't mean 2024 is a bad team. They were just the weakest team of the 3.
Yeah,
and it proved it to me when they were getting diced up by Notre Dame. Man, you just can't get beat that bad by Riley Leonard in the air and expect me to call you like an all-time great team. It's just not going to happen.
But great run, great team. And great national championship. And I see more national championships coming, Jay. Time will tell whether I'm right, whether my hunch is right. But I'm glad that you're at least in the boat, that you think it's a possibility.
It is a possibility.
Okay,
and so sneak peek for next week, Michael, I just want to point out there that the Ohio State baseball team just ended its season. Mm-hmm. And we are doing a baseball episode next week. We have to.
Yeah. The baseball program's in really bad shape.
Let's save our thoughts on it for next week.
There's a lot of things in bad shape,
up.
Jay. There's a lot of things in bad shape, Jay. And I'm not being negative. There's a lot of things that need to be kind of fixed in the Ohio State athletic department right now. And there's a lot of teams that are just not performing at a really satisfactory level to be representing Ohio State. And unfortunately, the baseball team is one of those. And so we're going to discuss those in episodes coming up. I think it can be fixed. Ohio State just has to have the will to do it. But thank you guys for joining us. It's been another great episode. Sorry we were a day late because of the technical difficulty that we couldn't get around last night. But next week, we will be back on Monday. As we are leaving, thank you guys in the chat. I'm sorry we did not have time. This was such a jam-packed episode.
Hey, super chats, man. Super chats, we have to answer.
Hopefully in the future, we'll have some more free-flowing type episodes where we can interact with you guys more in the chat. I appreciate you interacting and coming and being a part of it and watching. And we'll try to, get some of those types of opportunities in the future to interact with you more. A lot of you guys, a lot of new people in the chat, Jay. Thank you, Michael G, Sage, Ohio, Brian Jones. Let's see, Timothy Campbell, all new names in the chat. Thank you guys for joining and participating, in this little Buckeye community.
Continue to tell people about us because we're growing and we're taking that spot, man. We're filling that void for people who want Ohio State coverage because we are not only a football podcast. And make that very fucking clear. We cover other sports too, so don't think we are only Ohio State football. We cover them a lot. We cover them the most out of any of the other sports, but we still cover basketball. We still cover baseball. We cover the Big Ten. We are not solely aligned to just Ohio State football, which makes our show more balanced.
Also, Hattie May, thank you for your comment. She thinks he or she thinks we got to be kidding that we're definitely not going to be building a dynasty, according to Hattie May.
Let's get the fuck out of here, man. Let's sign off.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.